All right, y'all, let's get this thing started. Good evening. I'm going to call to order the November 15th meeting of the Advisory Committee for Redistricting. This is our last meeting out in the districts, and we are very excited about that. This is going to be a fun meeting. So, as we begin, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag is on the wall behind you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to our meeting. And we will begin by recognizing that we are in District 5, and our District 5 Commissioner has arrived. Commissioner, would you like to take the mic and give some remarks? Thank you for hosting us. Thanks.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to host this and excited to hear what you all have to say. I'll start with saying, when people ask me what my district is, so I'll just take this off so I could breathe a little better. I say, well, my district on the west side starts with Maitland, College Park, but it gerrymanders around Eatonville, comes down where the 408 is, goes up around Bumby, then follows down 50, then gerrymanders a little up around Dean Road or somewhere around that area, then continues down, and then after Avalon Park goes down Ekalon-Hatchie River, then follows that down towards the beach line, and then it's bordered by Brevard County, Seminole County. The first response from everyone is, wow, that's a really wide area that you have to travel. And they didn't even hear what the other districts look like yet. And they are right. If you look at the lines, I have to travel from one end to the other. I'll tell you a little bit of history of District 5 is that I'm only the second person who's been elected from the east side to represent District 5, which was really interesting. The other person was Commissioner Tanner, which has Tanner Road named after him. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh, you're going to have a road named after you too? I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. But everybody else who's been elected to District 5 has been from Winter Park, and there's one that I know of that's been from Maitland. And I'm just looking around to see if any of the former commissioners are here. But yeah, it's definitely, it's been wild, I'll say, as a commissioner, to be able to represent this district. I will tell you that my preference, I would definitely love to be able to have a more compact district, to be able to travel better and therefore be able to represent better. I've been to College Park, of course, but not as much as I would like to. Been to Eatonville more than I've been to Maitland. So that's what I would wish for the future commissioners, to be able to represent the district better by being able to travel. Because I may be from the east side, but like I mentioned, almost all of them have been from the west side, and they haven't been able to represent the east side very well, and probably because they can't get to the east side. And the difference is, when you're looking at this too, one thing you should think about is that as a county commissioner, we mostly get calls and needs from people in unincorporated areas. The people in the incorporated areas, like the cities and the municipalities, they have the city council to be able to represent them and handle their needs. So when you have a commissioner who's elected from the west side, when most of the unincorporated areas all the way in the east side, and they don't get out there to represent the area, then the area is not being represented. But I will definitely say that my want to be able to have a more compact district, I will be more than willing to sacrifice for the needs of other districts who have a lot of social needs that are not being best represented in their districts because of the way it is districted. And with that in mind, I know that you're looking at legalities and numbers, and redistricting is based on numbers. But first and foremost, we're representing people, not numbers. And you may have a redistricting map that has all the numbers perfect, but it may not be what the representation is needed or what the people needs. So I would ask you to think about the people and the people's needs over the numbers. You don't have to have perfect numbers to have a perfect map. You need a map that's going to represent the people and their needs, and that would make it perfect. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. And like I said, I'm willing to sacrifice my compact wants for some of the social needs for some of the other districts to get what they need. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And again, thank you for hosting us here in your district. Commissioners Uribe and Wilson, you are both here. Would you care to address? You just want to wave. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us as always. You all have been to most of our meetings, and we do appreciate that. Before we move into public comment, I just want to let the committee know you found on your desk when you sat a memo from Co-Chair Evans and I, and it sets forth our plans on how we want to try to winnow maps as the weeks that come ahead. So I'd appreciate it if you would read those. We've met about this at length. We think it's a comfortable approach, and we think it's going to work for us. But I'm certainly welcome to hear your comments or input about it, either at the end of this meeting or at the next meeting, which, by the way, isn't until December 6th. So this will be it until December 6th. So I just want to draw your attention to that and make sure you take a look at it and read it over. We actually think the plan works, and we're very, very hopeful. We're going to move into public comment now. For those of you who are in the audience and you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment card. We'll have to have that card, and I will call you from that. But before we take in-person public comment, we have 4 emailed public comments, and per our rules, as we always do, we will read the name of the person sending it and the topic, and then the public comment is placed into the record in that email, so you can go online and read it and make sure that everyone's voice is heard. So the first one is from Demencio Barton. The topic is unincorporated versus incorporated representation. The second one is from Dolores Elvira Oseguiojine. The topic is no to map 9. The third one is Mayor Letitia Clark. Her topic is district map lines and communities of interest. And the fourth map is from David Bonilla, who says keep Azalea Park in District 3. Again, pursuant to our rules, those will be posted on our website, and please go in, take a look at them, read them. There's a lot of insight in the emailed comments as well. But now we're going to move into the public comments. Again, I just received another one, so if anyone wishes to speak and you've not filled out a card, please do so. Our first speaker this evening is Kevin Kelly. Mr.
Would you take roll call, Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Co-Chair, thank you.
I looked around and saw we were here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tico Perez, I am here. Co-Chair Evans.
Here.
Gary Jones. Ruth Ann Connor King. Zach Hoover. Here. Joe Kilsemer. Here. Thank you, Mayor. Jason Mellon. Here. Mark Arias. Okay, no Mark Arias. Tom Callan. Here. Jimmy Ofont. Here. Julio Roca.
Presente.
Wes Hodge. Here. Kelly Simrad. I think Kelly, we knew she wasn't be here. Virginia Whittington. Kelly or Virginia? Okay, yeah, okay. Virginia, no. And Commissioner Hardage. Wonderful. We do have quorum. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for reminding me. Now, Mr. Kelly, please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. And just a heads up, the next speaker will be Eugene. If you wanted me to read your last name, you should have written more clearly. Staccardo. Okay, you are next up. Mr. Kelly, the microphone's yours.
Thank you, and good evening. And I'm real happy to be here in District 5.
Please start the clock.
Start the clock. There we go. My name's Kevin Kelly, and I live in an unincorporated part of District 1, zip code 34786. So we're part of the plan development known as Horizons West. And because we use zip codes from the nearby municipalities, it's easy to confuse the incorporated parts of where I am with the unincorporated parts. And I just also want to kind of echo what the representative from District 5 talked about in terms of the needs. Sometimes we see the needs of the incorporated areas are handled by their local representation. The unincorporated areas, we have to kind of stand out and work on that. It's still a great place to live, and we love Orange County. But for right now, we look at our area, and there's neighborhoods that are well south along 439 that use a Winter Garden zip code, but they're not part of Winter Garden. This is the same as Windermere. In fact, I live in a Windermere zip code, but I don't live in Windermere. But I have plenty of neighbors who tell me that they live in Windermere. And of course, I ask them, if that's so, then how do you get away with not paying Windermere property taxes? So the point is, our area shouldn't be confused because of zip codes or other things like that. And Horizons West, District 1, we have a lot of those areas, and we have a planned development of 8,400 pre-approved homes, as most of you are aware of that. It's a booming area. We're going to get a lot of Yankee fans in. We're going to get a lot of folks from other areas. We love it. It's a great place. These homes are all going to get built in very rapid fashion, and the process that's going on now is for the next 10 years. So it's easy to see that the population in District 1 is going to increase significantly. The same is true from what I can interpret in 4 and 5. So I encourage this committee to keep this in mind and support map strategies that have negative balance numbers right now for District 1 and 4 and possibly 5 to account for the growth that we're seeing, and we're seeing it every day. At the last meeting of this group, proposed Map 10 was moved forward for consideration. Although not perfect, Map 10 looks to the future and addresses growth in District 1. Tonight we'll see 11, 12, and 13 proposed maps. And those maps may not take into consideration the growth of District 1 and these other districts, but I want you to consider that. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and I love Orange County.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Staccardo. And the next speaker will be Lisa Jones, so you can prepare. Mr. Staccardo, you've got 3 minutes if you'll state your name and address for the record.
Eugene Staccardo, 331 Roswell, Orlando. Welcome to Winter Park, as unincorporated Winter Park, 32792. So just to point out, with 2 miles outside the city border. What I want to emphasize is about compactness and splitting up communities. I would like to propose that we keep the rural settlements and smaller cities like Eatonville compact and in one district so you get better representation for those communities of a smaller size, say, I don't know, 5,000, 6,000 below. But then to split the larger communities such as Ocoee or even Pine Hills so they have more representation dealing with the issues of the communities. So I would push for that type of map where those communities that get better representation by more district commissioners. Also, I wouldn't concentrate so much on the numbers. The deviation's allowed up to 10%, so I wouldn't get too crazy about those numbers because we got 10 years to grow into it. So that's all I had to say. So thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments. Ms. Lisa Jones. And following Ms. Jones will be Todd Catella. Ms. Jones, if you'll state your name and address for the record, please. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Jones. My address is P.O. Box 37772, Orlando 32802. First, I didn't get to the Wekiva meeting, although I was able to see the maps and hear the results. I attended the Colonial meeting, the one that was held at Colonial. And I was very disheartened to hear that one of the maps suggested separating Eatonville into 2 different districts. I think that's a bad idea, and I hope that there is a map. I haven't looked at them all, but I do hope there is a map that is out there that keeps Eatonville whole, and that is the one that will be chosen. Also, from what I understand from last week, there was a map, I can't remember, unfortunately, if it was the one that passed, that wanted to take Tangelo Park out of District 6, and I, as a resident of District 6, am opposed to that. The other thing I wanted to address was at that Colonial meeting, another thing that I was very disheartened about was there was only one person who spoke up about the proposed separating Eatonville into 2 different districts. And then for the map that proposed separating Azalea Park and another primarily Hispanic community into 2 separate districts, there were 3 people who had, I'll use the phrase, a hissy fit about that and said, you know, Azalea Park's never been separated in the whole time that I've lived here, and that just would basically be a travesty. What I didn't understand is if you felt that way about Azalea Park and the other community, why didn't you say the same thing about Eatonville? Both of them are minority communities, and only one person spoke up for that. So if you have issues with dividing Hispanic communities, those people should have the same issues with dividing even more historical Black community. And so as I left the meeting, because of the fact that our public comments happened at the beginning, as I mentioned in my presentation then, you all didn't get a chance to hear what we as a community thought about that. And so I have an issue with the fact that some people couldn't make it back tonight. Like I couldn't make it last week to make this comment. I had to wait until tonight. I really encourage you, if you really, really want to hear what the people who are going to be impacted by the decisions you all make, if you really want their input, then please move the public comments to a place where we can speak after you have explained everything that is in these maps, and then we can actually make educated comments about that and actually give you the feedback, because you all might be minimally affected by the decisions that you make when you make your final decision about this redistricting, but there are going to be thousands of people who will be affected by that. And you have that responsibility. I hope you all will take that responsibility more seriously than it seemed that it was taken then. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Mr. Catella, and following him is Dale McDonald. Mr. Catella, please give us your name and address, and you've got 3 minutes.
Todd Catella, 162 Mercado, Orlando, 32807. Okay. First off, I really want to put a strong emphasis on the planned development zones. These are already pre-approved county board sanctioned areas that are in development. And those of you that have done maps know how smallest tweaks here and there can definitely affect a map. Now, we are planning a map for 10 years, all right? And if development is coming online and is going to be filled within 2.5 to 3 years, then we need to consider that as well. We need to be looking at our maps for a 10-year period of time. I look at a wide variety of these maps. Every one of them tonight doesn't have a negative number on 1 or 4. And it should have some sort of accounting for the planned development zone numbers, 10,300 in actual residents that are there, plus if it's a 1 to 1.5 voter per thing, you're talking about a lot of people. And District 1 is going to be 8,400 people. District 5 has 2,000 people. So these are already on the board, and I understand from talking to my commissioner that last week there was another approved planned development zone as well, and I don't know the number, and it's not included in this right now, but it should be. Now with that, I don't support maps that don't have negative numbers in 1 and 4 for sure. 5, okay, we can decide what that's going to be, but we definitely need to have that. I will say map 15 is a little weird. I don't even know what the deal is on that. Somebody missed something somewhere. That one is really freaky in terms of what the real numbers are, and there's no way those numbers are correct. So that needs to be fixed. So looking at the maps overall, I would say that 1A is a reasonable map. The 10 is a reasonable map because it's accounting for that potential growth. It's not perfect, but those are a couple that have shown that they have the base of reasonable discussion. I know that there's been several comments week to week to week about having District 6 into 2 commissioner zones, so I understand the respect of that, and I understand the Tangelo Park area as well. I will say that for anybody that is watching these videos on Orange TV, number one, it's streamed live on YouTube every week. And then there is the history of that available that you can go back and look. You take that in addition to public comments that can be made online, and there's no reason anybody can't do their own research and make public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Next up is Hannah Gutner. I'm sorry, that was Todd. I already flipped it over. My apologies, Mr. Catella. Ms. Gutner, you will be following Mr. McDonald. I flipped it over too early. I apologize for that. And Mr. Catella, thank you for your comments. Mr. McDonald, you have 3 minutes. Please give us your name and address.
I know Mr. Catella and I look a lot alike. I understand. I'm Dale McDonald, 108 Tangelo Court in Maitland. I was mayor of Maitland until about 7 months ago. You clearly will understand my biases in regard to fixing something that's not broken. in regards to District 5 and the obvious commonalities as Maitland and Winter Park and Eatonville. Who's talking about splitting a 2,000-person city in Eatonville? So very familiar with folks here, county commissioners, Tom, everybody, Tico, Joe. So these are all friends, and this is some pretty commonsensical stuff that's gotten more complicated as different forms of compliance are necessary in population areas. But again, I think I would agree with Homer that we've got communities that have worked together over the years, and I'm just not sure that some of these things are broken. So I'd love to see a map that I have not seen yet in regards to District 5, and even the discussions about, I realize District 2 is large, but it's hard to imagine us associated with and being split with 2 county commissioners to work with, because working with county commissioners has always been a matter of relationships. And relationships are derived from engagement. And so as you have the opportunity to be engaged, and I appreciated hearing Commissioner Bonilla, didn't get a chance to see us very much in Maitland, or much in Eatonville for that matter. But we've got an odd set of circumstances that require that District 5, which doesn't look like any shape I can imagine, and we're all very aware of that. But Maitland, Winter Park, and Eatonville are very compact cities, towns and cities, and will be even more so over time, particularly Maitland, which is truly the convergence of 429 and Maitland Boulevard, 1792, and a railroad. It is, without question, the most advantageously located city in Metro Orlando. Parks, lakes, schools, all the things that we'd all kill for, give up body parts to have, we have. So let's try to work ourselves in a spot where everybody gets the opportunity to win and work together collaboratively, and not just be something that's advancing someone's personal agendas. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hannah Gutner. I have no other public comment cards. If anyone who has arrived wishes to speak, please fill out a public comment card. It's the only way I can call you, and we'll be happy to call you up. Ms. Gutner, you have 3 minutes. Please give us your name and address.
Thank you so much. Good evening. I really appreciate the time. Commenting as a private citizen today at 807 Shine Ave is my address in Orlando. 2 parts of my public comment are process related, and then 2 are opinion related. First, I just wanted to let you all know that the map proposal website on the box file says the files have been removed, just as an FYI for staff. And then the second comment for staff is that I think there is room for improvement in terms of public comment. The reason I actually came tonight in person as opposed to doing it virtually is because, having watched all the meetings live, you know that the only part of the online public comment is the topic that's read, and I think it's been clear that there's been some sort of confusion in a lot of ways for residents, people putting their addresses in the topic line or just no on 9 with a longer comment below that's published online. But I think given that the intent of public comment is to influence your all's opinions, I think it'd be valuable to maybe tell people either online that their public comment, the only part that's going to be read is the topic, or read the whole thing out loud and do a character limit, just something to consider. And then the other 2 parts are that I think something valuable to consider as we do these maps is, instead of focusing just on race or ethnicity, although that's extremely important, is incorporating that with land use issues, because so much of what local government does is land use, whether that's roads, water quality, infill redevelopment, or greenfield new development. It's very different. UCF or Apopka, a Wakaiva Basin is incredibly important to be sensitive to, and it's really important that the county commissioner is aware of those things. And I think it'd be good to kind of group land use issues a little bit and consider that. And then lastly, I'll just keep it quick. It's just a little bit concerning that it seems like the last couple of proposals have included Pine Hills altogether, when there have been a lot of constituents from the public comment saying that they want it to be between districts 2 and 6, or 2 districts, even that's different numbers. I think it's very valuable to keep that in mind, as it does seem like the last couple of proposals, including this one, unless I'm wrong, looks like it kind of incorporates all of Pine Hills in one district. So that's it. I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate all of your service, because I know it's a lot of time to come out here every week and dedicate your time. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Gutner. I have no other comment cards. Does anyone else wish to speak? If you do, please fill out a card and we will give you the podium. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. And at this point, I'm moving through the agenda to approval of the minutes in your packet, and you were also emailed the minutes for the November 1, 2020 minutes, hoping we've reviewed those. Do I have a motion to approve or amend those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve from Mr. Hodge. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Who was that second?
Mr. Callen.
Tom. Thank you, Mr. Callen. Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of November 1. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Same deal. November 8th minutes in your packet. Is there a motion to approve or amend? I so move. Jimmy Alfont moves to approve. Is there a second? Second was Homer Hardis. Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move into the information agenda. We have one map for the information agenda, which we will decide whether to move forward, obviously. But let me just point out, November 29th is the last day to submit maps. Our next meeting is December 6th. And at that meeting, we'll try to deal with as many of, we won't be able to deal with those. We're going to have those on information and push those meetings to our December 9th meeting. So please, if you're going to submit a map, please make sure you get it by the 29th. That is our deadline. After that, we will not accept more maps. Same for members of the public. If you've been working on a map or you've got an interest and you've reached out to one of our committee members to support your map, if you're not getting a response, which I doubt highly, but please reach out again. And if you've got a map to submit, November 29th is the deadline. So on the information agenda, we got Redistricting Plan Proposal 15, submitted by member Ruth Ann Connor King. Is there a motion to move it forward into information agenda? Before I do that, let me ask legal, you'll review it next week. That's right. We don't even need a motion. We're going to move that forward into discussion agenda, and it will be the only map we discuss on December 6th. So we will do that. Ms. Connor King, you'll be here on the 6th.
Mr. Co-Chair, that we will be moving forward all maps so we can finish for the analysis and the review for discussion on December 6th.
So you all will have a chance to address some of those maps and give us legal review, as many as you can that you receive by the 29th for December 6th.
And so in order to get on the December 6th deadline, we do encourage the committee members to get their maps into us as early as possible. If there's a surge of last-minute maps, it will be hard for us to make that December 6th deadline with enough time to get that information to the public. So those maps that we could not make would go to the December 9th discussion agenda, but we are going to be trying to get as many maps on the December 6th discussion agenda as we can. So we'll be doing that on a rolling basis. So as we complete the analysis in the order that we've gotten them submitted, we'll be posting them. So you'll be getting them throughout the holiday break for Thanksgiving for your review.
Great, thank you. We're clear then. Okay, let's go ahead and move into our discussion agenda. Redistricting Plan Proposal Number 11. Member Jason Mellon, you've got 5 minutes to present and 15 to discuss.
All right, we ready?
We are ready and start the clock.
All right, thank you. All right, my map, I made my map off of several key tenets based off of our very first meeting here. First, we had to follow the Civil Rights Act, and race or ethnicity can play no part in the map's creation. And it cannot use future growth in determining new boundaries. My map, I simply looked at the data presented and shifted as few people as humanly possible from overly populated districts and put them into surrounding underly populated districts, and attempted to do so without upsetting the communal balance to a degree that would have significant impact on the areas affected. The end goal here was to minimize the amount of people relocated to another district and not grossly change the existing footprint of the current boundaries. I also tried my hardest to preserve municipal boundaries and to maintain communities of interest and preservation of core and prior districts to the best of my ability. With that said, a few issues I've noticed. Gotha on my map, apparently I have it shifted to 11 people. That needs to be in District 1. Lake Butler, it was also mentioned in there, but if you look at that map, I'm trying to put that one community all together. Right now it's currently split. And with that said, that's all I got. Short and sweet.
That, sir, was brief. Thank you, Jason. I will open the floor then, if we'll set the clock at 15 minutes, to comments. Again, please, so we have learned with these devices, if you push it once and you see a little 0 pop up in the red, that means that we got it. Don't push it again and again and again, just one push. Mr. Alfont.
I want to congratulate you. This is a great map. The only minor issue, and I'm going to call it a minor issue, excuse me?
Co-chair, there needs to be the legal
I'm
analysis
sorry, Christine.
opportunity. I apologize, Mr. Rafan.
You know, I do that all the
You
time.
called my name and I just went for it.
And you know, I really berated my co-chair 2 weeks ago when she did that, and now she's got payback, and that's unpleasant. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Alfont, but counsel is correct. Can we have legal review, please?
So this map does meet the minimum threshold for legal analysis. It has a maximum deviation of 2.97%, and it does meet the state and local contiguity requirements. The map does create a new split in Alafaya between District 4 and District 5. It does do the 2 minor splits that I believe committee member Mellon suggested correcting.
Yes.
in Gotha and Lake Butler, so they would not be split assuming that amendment went forward. In Maitland, it does create a new split in population between District 2 and District 5. In Winter Garden, it creates a new split in population between District 1 and District 2. It does not move any populations fully into any new districts. It does fully consolidate the population of Ocoee from District 1 and 2 into District 2. And then there are shifts in population in Pine Hills and Winter Park. And it does correct a 0 population block that's in Lockhart. And then staff does have the 2 recommendations regarding Gotha and Lake Butler. They're minor corrections just to make sure that those populations were inadvertently placed into the neighboring districts. And that concludes legal analysis.
Thank you. I will not forget you again. Now, we will open our debate. So if you were signed up a moment ago, you're not any longer, so please hit your buttons. Mr. Alfont.
I like your map. It's very concise. I only have one minor issue, and I know from preparing maps, sometimes it's easier to pull on a road to make a division than it is on a neighborhood, and that's something I've been mentioning. The only reason I bring that up is because he decided to use 417 to divide part of District 4 and District 3. The only reason I bring that up is because there's part of what we had our meeting for District 4 was in Renaissance Center, and that is in District 4, and this map removes it from there. We have our 3 Kings Day activities and other things there. It's a minor thing. It's just throwing a line a little bit more complex, but other than that, I'm fine with your map.
Commissioner Hodge, you popped up and went away, and you're back.
I likewise think it's a good map.
Your mic.
I had just the one question. In District 2, it goes to minus 1.78%, and I'm sorry, in District 5, and District 2 goes to 0.09, and it splits Maitland. So I just question why you wouldn't include that and then remove the negative number in District 5.
Quite simply put,
And I guess the main question is why would you split Maitland if District 2 and District 5 have that discrepancy?
I think quite simply put, I'm just trying to move the minimum amount of people to make the numbers, whether one's still in the negative or in the positive, is still well under the deviation. And so I think that's my answer with that. I didn't want to go and really pull those lines left and right in certain areas. Again, District 2 has to gain 18 or 20,000 people. And so in doing so, I just moved it to the bare minimum to get my numbers. So there's no reason other than that.
So, Mr. Roca, you showed up and you went away. So if anybody else is trying to get in and I'm not seeing you, please let me know, because I know Julio walked over and came up and then he vanished. Okay. Julio, and then Tom Callan.
No, I just want to comment that I like the map. I can support this map going through.
Thank you. Mr. Callan.
I think it got some really good qualities to this map. The only concern I have is dividing Maitland. It looks like 1792 into District 2 and District 5. And I think there's more commonality and compactness of Maitland with Winter Park. There is a little finger that goes over Lake Fairview. The shoreline is in District 6 or District 5, but the lake itself is in District 2. So that's kind of a question I had. One of the speakers spoke about the growth districts being 1 and 4. The maps show them at a positive number. And some of the districts that are more hemmed in, like District 3 and District 6, there's limited allocation there. But overall, I thought it's a good to move forward, to go forward with this. The final concern I had was that the proposal does do a good job in maintaining the demographic mix of District 2, as well as the other districts as well. And I think it's a good proposal to consider down the future, but I have a concern about Maitland and that area there and what's going on up there.
Co-Chair Evans.
Thank you. Member Mellon, I do think I like the way you're headed. I think the two things that I keep hearing that have not already been raised by our other members so far is the transition with Pine Hills. I think that's continues to be a concern from the community members. And then also, we've just heard Maitland residents talk about that being split. So those are the two things that stand out for me. But I also do think that there's value in us being mindful that we don't have to stick, direct one-to-one on these numbers, and that we utilize the deviations in a way that is strategic to preserve communities of interest. But I do think that you've got something here that is the beginning, but I think there's some fundamental pieces that I'd be concerned with.
Mr. Jones.
I echo the sentiments that's already been spoken of trying to keep, I too think the map is well thought, very well thought. I do think there's some work to be done here to try to keep like-minded people and communities together and it's already been spoken, so good map, but work to be done if it moves forward, I think.
Thank you, Gary. I have no other speakers in queue. Does anyone else wish to speak on the map? Madam Clerk, please note that Kelly has arrived. I want to make sure she's on the roll. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Well, I think Commissioner Hodge made the motion to move the map forward. Mr. Roca, you seconded that?
If you don't mind.
Got a motion and a second to move committee proposal 11 forward. There is no discussion on this. We just talked about it. So I will call the question on that. all in favor of the motion to move committee proposal 11 forward, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed?
Nay.
2 opposed? 3 opposed. Thank you. Madam Clerk, are you going to look for a roll call vote of that, or are you going to accept 3 opposed?
If you could announce the 3 nays, please, that will suffice.
It sounded like Co-Chair Evans, Mr. Hodge, and I believe it was Kelly Simrad were the noes. With that, the motion carries. Proposal moves forward. Thank you, Jason.
I'd like to make an amendment to the map real quick, if I could.
Could have raised your hand while I was doing that. Okay.
Just to make sure that amendment to that Gotha remains in District 1 and Lake Butler remains in District 1. That was a snafu on my part.
Well, we would either have to withdraw the map, have that conversation, and then reapprove that map, asking staff to reevaluate all the legal pieces of that, or we can make that amendment subsequently when we consider the map.
All right, I withdraw my motion.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We are going to move through the agenda then to redistricting plan proposal number 12, submitted by Wes Hodge. Wes, you have 5 minutes to present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Co-Chair, sorry. Good evening, everybody, county commissioners, staff. Thank you for all your help. I have a PowerPoint because Commissioner Hardage required me to up my game. So thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate those extra hours. But real quickly, we'll go through this. If we go to the next slide, please. This is District 1 overview. You can see a quick demographics for reference in the next slide. The major changes here are to, go ahead. Thank you. On the left, you can see the movement of Williamsburg to District 6. The reasoning behind that is that Williamsburg is part of the International Drive CRA and is often left out of those communications and negotiations. So since they are a part of the CRA, they do have a commonality there. So a way to help alleviate the population in District 1 as well as the increase needed in District 6 is to move Williamsburg to District 6, so hopefully they can get better inclusion in those conversations. Also, the continuation of Highway 50 through Winter Garden to continue the split there as a geographic compactness, and then again keeping Oakland in District 1. If we could go to the next slide, please. The areas of concern, as we've heard about tonight, Ocoee, and part of what my concern is we have an existing split, and so if we're going to remove that split, we need to look at our areas of concern. And when we're looking at these questions, does it warrant moving the line? Is it non-contiguous? No. And in fact, if you look at the maps of the city of Ocoee, the turnpike is specifically removed from the city of Ocoee's municipalities. So it is a non-contiguous section. Does it preserve municipal boundaries? Yes, it does. Does it maintain communities of interest? I argue no, it does not, for the reason of the fact that this previous commission, as well as the State House and the school board, all use Highway 50 as the border for school districts through Ocoee, which means that they have different state reps, they have different county commissioners, and they have different school board members. Additionally, and I don't have access to it, but you can tell with my background in real estate, the ages of the home, the property values, the types of neighborhoods, they are physically separated by the turnpike. There is a distinct difference of Ocoee south of the turnpike versus north of the turnpike. So I would argue that the commonality is for them to remain in District 1. Preservation of cores of prior districts, does it do that? No, because we'd be moving them from District 1 to District 2. And is it a consideration of the incumbent's district? No, because again, we are coming right up against where the current commissioner for District 1 lives. So when we're looking at our traditional redistricting principles, it answers no to 4 of the 5. So for my attorneys here, I don't really see that as a convincing reason to reunite Ocoee. If we can go to the next slide, please. This is District 2. Next slide again. The major changes in District 2 are to absorb Maitland west of I-4, move Fairview Shores, southern Fairview Shores into District 5, and move District 6 slightly north to Indian Hill and Donovan Roads. This is to allow, again, District 6 to have that growth that it needs while respecting Pine Hill's request to maintain a balance between 2 and 6. And in the legal analysis, you'll see that's done. Again, absorb Winter Garden north of Highway 50. This is a continuation of the Colonial Drive line of demarcation, continuing out west to allow, again, District 1 to shed population, allow District 2 to gain population. If we can go to the next area, District 2 areas of concern. I know a lot of the public comment about wonky lines, and I am a big opponent of wonky lines. But if you look at where Winter Park is, there is a small arrow, that little yellow or orange arrow. There are 10 residents of Eatonville that are separated by a non-contiguous portion of Maitland. So where that line is, it does create a break in Maitland, but it keeps Eatonville together. So that's the reason for that non-contiguous portion right there. I am open to following the Winter Park municipal boundary line, which would add about 498 people. And as you can see, it's a very de minimis difference as far as the population is concerned. So if you all want to make all of Winter Park in District 5, I'm open to that concession. Next slide, please. District 3, this is again the overview. And then we can move to the next slide for District 3 changes.
Wes,
I see I'm running out.
Do you think Co-Chair and I have agreed to extend some time? Can you wrap it up in 3 minutes, or do you need 5 more?
I think I can do 3 minutes. I'll talk fast.
Well, we put 3 minutes back on the timer.
Thank you. My apologies. District 3 changes is to reunite Holden Lakes, move the boundary to the 408, 436, and 50, and move the east boundary to 417. Again, more compactness and more reasonable lines. Reunite the city of Belle Isle and extend the southern border to South Chase and Meadowwoods. This allows District 3, the area around Lake Nona, for future growth. So as we're seeing growth in 10 years, this allows District 3 some room to grow as well. Next slide, please. The District 3 area of concern is moving the Taft CDP to District 4. I know that was a concern with some of my fellow board members here. It's a delta of almost 4,000 people. It's non-contiguous with South Chase and Meadowwoods, so I think that there's a reasonable argument to say that Taft can be separated. So that's the only area of concern that I saw in District 3. Moving on to District 4. Next slide. District 4 shifts the border from 528 to the Central Florida Parkway, moves a portion of OIA to District 3, and as our fellow member Hoover reported, the submarine of District 4, just removing that and using the Econ River continuing down to the Osceola County line. The area of concern is, of course, this submarine. It's a geographically gigantic piece of land, but there's only 147 residents there, so it does not really make a difference if it moves to 5 or stays in 4. So I'm open to leaving that in District 4 if this committee thinks it's appropriate. Moving to District 5, the border shifts east to I-4 in Maitland. Again, the argument here is that Maitland east of I-4 will have more in common with with Lockhart. Again, trying to find that line to move population but still respect the boundaries, and I think I-4 is a good boundary line for that. Adding the southern portion of Fairview Shores, shifting the border over to Orange Blossom Trail, and again, as we talked about, 408 and 50. It does maintain the Union Park split with Colonial Drive, and it cleans up the tracks which were previously in District 4 north of 50 and reunites them with District 5 for more compactness. Moving on to District 6. The border shifts north, again, as I mentioned, to Indian Hill and Shader. The border shifts east of 441 for compactness, and again incorporates Williamsburg, unifying the I-Drive CRA. The border shifts slightly from 528 to Central Florida Parkway. And lastly, the area of concern for District 6, Again, it maintains that split in Pine Hills, where it keeps about 25% of Pine Hills in District 6. And lastly, as we heard previously, the detention facilities and their areas of concern. These are fairly small, 1% or less impacts on the districts, so it is a very negligible point, but I wanted to let people know that it was acknowledged. And the last slide is simply to show other municipalities and CDPs that have splits, and that while we do have concern of ECOE, there are much smaller CDPs and municipalities that have splits, so it's not necessarily a population issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Legal.
Yes, Committee Proposal 12 does meet the minimum threshold for legal analysis and consideration by the committee. It has a maximum deviation of 1.03% and a relative mean deviation of 0.31%. It also is contiguous and therefore meets the minimum legal threshold for the contiguous requirement. There are two new splits that are created by Committee Proposal 12. That is in Maitland, which is currently fully in District 5. It's split into District 2 and District 5. And in Winter Garden, which is currently all in District 1. Winter Garden, this proposal moves Winter Garden into District 1 and District 2. There are two populations that are fully moved into new districts. That is Taft from District 4 to District 3 and Williamsburg from District 1 to District 6. And then the populations that are fully consolidated into one district, the Alafaya, which is currently split between 3 and 4, is moved fully into 4. Belle Isle, which is currently split between 3 and 4, is moved fully into 3. And Holden Lakes, which is currently split between 3 and 6, is moved fully into 3. There are other population adjustments in Fairview Shores, ECOE, and the City of Orlando, as well as in Pine Hills. And the map does correct a 0 non-population block that is currently in Lockhart. And then there's just one little dip in the line that staff noticed that is in Committee Proposal 12, the attachment 1 for that. And that is the end of legal analysis.
Thank you. We'll now open debate. If you'll set the clock, wonderful. Does anyone wish to speak for or against this map? No one is in queue, so if you're pushing the button, let me know. Now you are. Okay. Jimmy, and then Kelly.
My problem is, again, with Maitland being divided, and the other issue I would like to bring up is the reason why historically 4 had the long line. It was to make it less onerous on 5 to have that much territory. Plus, some people in the 1990s legal advised the county that it might be a good idea not to have a district that went from Seminole County all the way down to Osceola. So that's why I would have to say that. The other thing, again, apparently all 3 maps tonight going to have the same issues, the Renaissance Center. I know you want to use 417 because it's easier than to use the cell blocks and the sensor blocks. I understand they're problematic. So I think that's something that maybe at the end of the day we could work out, but I need to bring up Maitland and I need to bring up the Renaissance Center, and I'm not sure that Williamsburg is a good idea in District 6. That's just me. I know they have something common with with International Drive, but they've been all their life functioning in District 1 and doing fine, so I'm not sure of the purpose of it, but other than that, I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Affan. Kelly Simrod, and then Tom Callan.
Thank you. Member Hodge, I like your map a lot. There's one, the reinstating the submarine back into D4. I would like to leave that in D5. So with regards to Maitland, Maitland is a large community. Maitland, I think, would warrant and would better from representation from multiple commissioners instead of one. In terms of moving Williamsburg to District 6, District 6 needs to, they need to grow. and it's difficult to grow District 6 without splitting communities. Williamsburg services, a lot of the residents within Williamsburg they work in the I-Drive, in the tourist corridor. It makes sense to put Williamsburg into District 6. It also provides for growth opportunity in District 6. I know that there was some concern with moving Taft in a past meeting, but we were looking at moving multiple communities at that point in time. Moving Taft into a different district commission at this point, I don't think impacts the representation in those particular districts. So I don't think that is a stopper on this map. The Winter Garden, I think that Winter Garden is hard to keep together. So I think that you did a nice split there. Pine Hills, the numbers don't look too different from what they are right now, and again, still benefit from representation of 2 district commissioners. So with the exception of the swath of land, the submarine, I think that this map has done a good job of consolidating communities that were separated, as well as bringing others together that have similarities that were not currently within the same district. Thank you.
Tom Callan?
I think we should move this forward. It's a very well done map. I think it's probably one of the better ones we've seen. So thank you, Wes.
Commissioner Hodge.
Yes, likewise, I think it's a very well done map and very well presented. I could not personally support moving Williamsburg into District 6. It has the same issue with maybe a little piece of Gotha. I think maybe it should be all together, but other than that, I wouldn't be able to support it with Williamsburg being moved to District 6. And the reason being is that Williamsburg has more in common with District 1 than it does with District 6. And in terms of growth, it has a minimal effect because Williamsburg is 100 plus built out, so nothing is going to happen down there in terms of new growth. It's just not there. There's no property down there other than International Drive. And International Drive is a non-voting block. Other than that, I can support the map. It's well done. The numbers seem to work out. But that would be a no-starter for me.
Thank you, Commissioner. Tom, you're back up to speak? No. Okay. Thank you. I have no other speakers in queue, and there's Kelly. Kelly? Okay. No worries. Does anyone else wish to speak on the map?
Would you mind if I made a couple of comments?
I was about to throw it to you.
All right, sounds good. So, Mr. Affont, I 100% agree with your assertion there that it is kind of interesting to have a county commission district go from one county all the way down to the other side. So I would be amenable to making that change. And like I said, it's a delta of 147 people, so it's really it does not make a difference. And this map, I do want to address the public comments. We do try to make these, or I try to make these as compact as possible. And when you reach District 1, even though it's still positive, my question starts to become, where do I start finding people to move out of District 1? And do I start moving Winter Garden, which then gives us those wonky lines that everybody complains about? And so it's a decision of, do I leave District 1 at 0.33 over, which is not ideal, but it's not bad, to get rid of the wonky lines that our public is overly complaining about, or do I start making more wonky lines to get a number? And I think that the use of roads is a reasonable expectation for county commission districts, and I think we've seen it repetitively at the state house level, at the state senate level, at the school board level. So I think that it's a reasonable continuation here. And with that, I think that it's a good map to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
All right, I'd like to make a motion. Move this map forward, please, Mr. Co-Chair.
Mr. Hodge has made a motion to move redistricting proposal 12 forward for additional consideration. Is there a second?
Second.
I think that was Ms. Simrod. Yes. All in favor of the motion to move proposed Plan 12 forward, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
No.
One no, I think that was Commissioner Hardage. Two noes?
I said no too.
Okay. So is that four noes? Okay, we're going to do this
roll call
one
it.
by roll call. Yeah, it's the only way to know. Co-Chair Perez, I'm a yes. Co-Chair Evans?
Yes.
Gary Jones?
Yes.
Ruth Ann Connor King? Yes. Zach Hoover? Yes. Mayor Kilsheimer? Jason Mellon?
Yes.
Mark Arias? Mark's not here. Tom Callan? Yes. Jimmy Alfont? No. Julio Roca? No. Wes Hodge, you're a yes?
Yes.
Kelly Simrod?
Yes.
Virginia Whittington, not here. Commissioner Hardage?
That's a no.
Okay, so we have 3 noes. The motion carries. The proposal is moved forward. Thank you, Mr. Hodge, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Next up, Mayor Kilsheimer. Please present plan proposal number 13. As you know, you have 5 minutes.
I love the map, actually. I'm with you. I like the map, really.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to present my map. I promise I will be brief as I can possibly be. I didn't do a PowerPoint. I was on the road last week, 4 out of 5 of the days last week, and I've been to Tampa and back today. So first I'd like to address the comments made in the legal analysis of my map, which were very helpful as I prepared these comments. It turns out that I was not as skillful with the mapping software as I had hoped. On a broad brush basis, my goal was to have all of Eatonville in District 2, all of Gotha in District 1, and all of Maitland in District 5, and I clearly missed the mark when I drew those lines. Fortunately, the staff analysis of the map has caught my errors and proposes minor adjustments that would fix my mistakes, and so I concur with the staff considerations, and if the committee moves forward with my map, I would urge that the staff considerations be incorporated. Secondly, and on a broad brush basis, my goal was to consolidate all of the Alafaya community inside District 4, and I seem to have accomplished that. And finally, on a broad brush basis, here are the major themes of my map. Consolidating all of Ocoee and Apopka into District 2, consolidating Winter Garden, Oakland, and Gotha into District 1, keeping Winter Park and Maitland in District 5, and squaring off the boundaries of District 6 by incorporating all of Metro West into District 6, and squaring off the boundary on the northeast side, and squaring off the boundary of District 3 on the southeast side. And I want to just, some of the comments that I've heard tonight about splitting cities, like cities of Winter Garden and Ocoee into two, and one comment that I heard was that the people in those communities would be well served by having 2 commissioners as opposed to 1. And I can just say, having actually worked at a city, I can virtually say with certainty that that would not be the case. If you have to work with 2 different staffs and 2 different personalities and multiple personalities at the city level, working with 1 commissioner is a whole lot easier on a city and on a city staff than it is having to work with 2. So I would hope you guys would keep that in mind with regards to splitting up cities. I think I'm a city guy, I'll admit that. I know that there are residents of unincorporated communities that are supposed to be represented by their commissioners. However, I'm also a big proponent of the idea that Orange County and our individual cities have a great opportunity to work together, to work cooperatively and jointly on a variety of projects that affect not just what happens inside the city, but what happens in the greater areas around the boundaries of our cities. And so I would urge the committee to consider, to the extent that we can't keep every city together. Certainly Orlando can't be kept in one district, but to the extent that we can, I would urge the committee to consider keeping to the greatest extent possible, cities together. And the rest of my map is fairly self-explanatory, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Legal.
Committee Proposal 13 meets the minimum legal threshold analysis. It has a maximum deviation of 5.08% and a relative mean deviation of 1.13%, and it is contiguous in compliance with the state and local contiguity requirements. As we discussed, there's a couple of small deviations. I'm still going to repeat them for the sake of the analysis, but I do know that Mayor Kilsheimer did make a motion to correct some of these. The new multi-district population divisions, there's 3 of them. There's one in Eatonville, that's one of the small ones for correction. There's one in Gotha, a small one for correction. And then there's the Maitland, there's a new split there where it was originally fully in District 5. It is now partially in District 2 as well. There are no populations fully moved into new districts. The population fully consolidated into one district does consolidate Alafaya into District 4, whereas currently split between District 3 and District 4. And then there are small populations either below 5% or over 90, or large populations over 90% in Eatonville, Gotha, Ocoee, the City of Orlando, and Winter Park. And then other population adjustments, there is a population adjustment in Pine Hills, and this map does correct the 0 population block in Lockhart. There are a couple of comments for adjustments that staff had seen. Some of them are easier to do than others in terms of the requirements of moving border lines, and they are listed in the potential considerations. And there's just a couple of 0 block corrections also the staff would recommend done to the map just to smooth out some of the boundary lines. And that's the end of the legal analysis.
Thank you. Mayor Kilsheimer, any comments beyond that?
No, thank you.
Okay. We will begin our discussion of Committee Proposal 13. Julio Roca.
Thank you. Mayor, I love this map. I like the map. One suggestion, if you don't mind. I will suggest that you keep Sky Lake in District 4 via an amendment. Other than that, I don't have any issues with this map.
Thank you. Right. Kelly?
Mayor, thank you. I had a question regarding the 30% population of Maitland that is in District 2. Did I hear you say that it should all be in District 5?
I agree. It should all be in District 5.
Okay, thank you.
Co-Chair Evans.
Mayor, I just want to tell you I like this map. I'm really like this map. I think that you've done a good job to try and bring together a number of the different concerns that we have. I agree all of the amendments that staff has identified I think should be brought into this proposal. I particularly like the approach you took with respect to District 6. I think that it's different than what we've seen from all the other ones, and yet still does a good job, I think, of embracing communities of interest throughout that district in a way that is, as close as possible to preserving core districts and allowing the communities of interest that exist to continue to work together. So I do know, I will admit that I know the Metro West Master Association did submit comments saying they would like to stay in District 1. And quite frankly, as a member of this committee, I'm not sure if that's possible. However, I just want to acknowledge, I know that was provided, but I do think this is a good map.
Thank you. Commissioner Hodge.
Yes, I likewise think it's a great map. It's interesting what you've done with District 6. I have a couple of questions. Does it incorporate Gotha in District 6 now? Is that Gotha on the left side?
I would propose that Gotha be in District 1.
What is this, the community just west that carves out? I don't know if I can.
Metro West?
Is that all of Metro West here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That would be one of my concerns about including that. And then on the southern portion, I see you moved the line down and from the original line, from the current line. And the other concern is that there is a drop in the percentage, in the voting age percentage from 51% to 44%, but it doesn't reflect that in the numbers. It's still pretty close to the number we're trying to get, which is 238,000. So those are the concerns I would have, the change in I guess the southern boundary and the Metro West piece, which is quite a large deviation from the current district. But I like what you've done with Silver Star Road. Everybody's been trying to figure out how to fix that. So that's an interesting thing to consider.
Thank you. Co-Chair Evans?
Commissioner, I just want to make sure you're looking at the right thing. I think that it's not from 51 to 44, it's 48.78 to 44.9.
The current percentage of black vote is 51%.
That's total.
Total.
The next row is.
And then the next one goes to what?
It's, if you don't mind, just
make sure we're looking at the same thing.
This is this number to this number.
40. Yes.
So
it goes from 51.
This goes from 48
to 40.
To 44.
Yes, it changes from 40. I just quoted it backwards. It goes from 48 to 44. So that deviation is important. Why is it important? In Florida, elections are won by 5 and 10 people or 250 people. So it may not seem that large here, but if those numbers shift in even marginal amounts, it makes it difficult for us to have a county that's reflective of our entire population.
I get it. Yeah. And as you know, having done a map, it's like squeezing a tube of toothpaste with multiple open ends at the other. So,
but I think it's interesting what you've done with Silver Star Road. But those would be my only concern.
Thank you, Commissioner. Jimmy, you were up and you vanished. Would you like to speak?
Yes. I like the map, but I need to make two things. If you notice, number 4, we're basically across the street from the commissioner at this point, or close to being to where she lives. That's why we have the little numbers there. If you notice, it's almost on your line. That's one of my concerns. Not sure why you went all the way that far back, but you chose to for some reason, and that's an area of concern for me. And the other area is the Renaissance Center. Basically, that would be my 2 concerns. Not sure because the map does not delineate, but I'm like the old football coach that's seeing that it's on the line. And I'm not sure, but, just to bring it up, maybe she's across the street or maybe she's 2 blocks away, but
if you zoom in, she's clearly in the district. So.
Okay, well, it's just that if you look at this.
Well, sure.
Right. But that's my only concern because I don't have the zoom here, and it's on the line, like we say back in
football.
I've heard
what you said about the Renaissance Center. I'm not familiar with that area. I actually will make it a point to go down there and see.
Okay.
And see if we can have a future discussion about that.
I would appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Gary.
Comments notwithstanding, great map, Mayor. A lot of great thought went into this.
Wes?
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Mr. Affont, just so that you know, and I think, Mayor, I don't think you moved the line between District 3 and 4 where the commissioner is. I believe that that's where the line currently is.
I think you're right.
So Commissioner Cordero is that close to the line currently. But I do share your concern. I do like what you've done with District 6. I think it's unique. I have some concerns, especially with the part around Metro West, as well as encroaching a little bit to the west. But all in all, I like what you did here, Mayor. Thank you.
Tom.
It's a good map for consideration. I have a concern about some of the lines that are drawn between Districts 2, 1, and 6 there. I thought Silver Star Road is really, we need to see that and look at that. I do have a concern about the population change as well. And the Maitland division is still there. I don't know. You mentioned that you want to take that off the map and keep it in District 5 versus District 2. So that would be according to this staff report, that would be 5,800 people going from District 5 to District 2 under this. And District 5 is at a negative 2.81% already. So I just was I don't have a problem with that, but I just want to, seems to be an issue there. Is Gotha, point of order, Mr. Chairman, is Gotha, is it north of the Turnpike or south of the Turnpike?
South.
South.
Okay, south of the Turnpike, okay. Thank you. I think we should consider this map.
Yeah, it is, it's kind of cut in half, a little bit. Yeah. Co-Chair Evans.
I just wanted to make the comment that I actually am a resident. I'm not a District 1 appointee, but I'm a resident of Metro West. And while I recognize that Metro West has routinely, historically been in District 1, I think that there is a real community of interest in in the Metro West community that properly would be properly represented between both Districts 1 and 6. I think that those communities have commonalities, and a lot of times we think that just because that's where we've been represented, it doesn't mean that we don't actually live, work, and play throughout those areas. So as a member of the Metro West community, me personally, I'm not opposed to that. I just wanted to share that.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Are there any other speakers who wish to speak on this map? Seeing none, Mr. Mayor, do you want to wrap up?
I would move approval or move recommendation.
We have a motion to move committee proposal 13 forward from Mayor Kilsheimer. Is there a second?
Second.
Before we do that, are we going to make the
amendment?
amendment?
Or did you want to amend?
Included in that motion would be to
thank you.
Have all the staff considerations that were listed in the staff report be incorporated in the final committee proposal 13.
I'm going to need to take those one at a time. So we've got a motion to amend committee proposal 13 before we take it forward to include all of the staff proposals. Do I have a second to the motion? Got a second. That was Jason? Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I have a quick question.
Yep, Wes.
Mayor Kilsheimer, do you intend to also make an amendment to move all of Maitland into District 5?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we will take that next. But at this point, we've got a motion on the floor with a second to accept all of the staff's recommendations as an amendment to this map. Is there any further discussion, Tom?
That was my question as well about Maitland going into the map.
Okay, we can take that in a subsequent amendment in a moment. Any other discussion on the current amendment? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. And those opposed?
Opposed.
We've got an opposition from Commissioner Hodge. Was that the only one?
No, Semra.
Thank you, and Kelly. Mayor, do you wish to make another amendment?
To adjust the map so that Maitland is all in District 5.
Thank you. There's a motion to amend committee proposal 13 to incorporate all of Maitland into District 5. Is there a second to that motion? There is a second
Hodge.
from Mr. Hodge. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, legal, do you have any concerns about doing these on the fly?
We'll be able to do them and present them at the next meeting as it would be map 13A.
Thank you. So I've got a motion and a second to add Maitland. Does anyone else to District 5? Anyone else wish to speak on the map? On the amendment, I'm sorry. Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Seeing none, that amendment, Kelly, will you a no?
Yep.
Thank you. That motion carries. Now to the main motion. We've got a motion and a second to advance committee proposal 13 as amended to the next round. Is there any additional discussion on the main motion? Mr. Alfont, it sounded like you were trying to speak there.
Yeah,
Microphone.
sorry. We did Maitland. The question is, before we go any further, did the mayor also want to include Eatonville all in 5 and Gotha all in 2?
Eatonville in 2.
In 2, excuse me. And all of Gotha in 1 because that's
Correct.
still up in the air.
Correct.
And I don't
All
think
of
we
Gotha in
addressed
1.
that. Oh, okay. Since we did.
And weren't those covered by the staff considerations? Yeah.
Yes, they were.
Oh, okay. Because we did Maitland separately. That's why I was wondering. Okay.
Julio Roca?
Just a question to the mayor if he will consider amending Sky Lake staying in District 4.
Okay. Do you want to say that, Christina?
Mr. Roca, I don't believe that Sky Lake is moved in Mayor Kilsheimer's map. It looks like Sky Lake is staying in District 3 in Mayor Kilsheimer's map. I believe it might be being moved in Committee Map Proposal 14.
I will review. Give me a second.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak on the main motion to move Committee Proposal 13 forward as amended? Mr. Roca, are you satisfied?
I am.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I will question Commissioner
Is
Hardage.
this a vote on the amendment?
No, sir. The amendments have both passed. This is a vote on the main motion to move the map forward as amended.
Okay, gotcha.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of moving Committee Proposal 13 as amended forward, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
Opposed.
Commissioner Hardage and Commissioner Simmer say no. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Redistricting Plan Proposal 14, Member Affont. Jimmy, you've got 5 minutes.
Whenever you're ready.
Start.
Okay. Good evening. The purpose of the map 14 is to keep my promise that I made during my presentations to do certain things that need to be done. But I would like also to start by saying 2 things. Part of the problems that I've had, and I think some of us have had with this, is that the software uses the census blocks, and sometimes the census blocks make it a little bit difficult to get exactly what we want because they tend to be programmatic, for lack of a better word. At this point, I'm bringing that up because Gotha, there's 11 residents that God knows I tried to put into District 1, but every time I pulled it one way or the other, I either came high on 400 out of Ocoee or 300, so basically I just quit before I got myself frustrated. So I'm moving that those 11 people from from Gotha go to District 1. The 10 from Lake Butler go into District 1. It was more of me trying, but I couldn't. Also, part of my problem is that I tried to remove Avalon Park out of District 4. Even though I went and got the parcels to put them in there, it appears that because of the census block, they have both of Avalon Park and its neighbors all in different blocks. Avalon Park is a development, and the purpose of what I want to do in my map is to remove Avalon Park out of District 4. So sure that we could find a way to do that. Part of the problem is that Alfaya goes all the way from Avalon Park to basically Valencia Community Village, down 50, almost all the way to Eastwood. It's too large of a community. As a matter of fact, according to the census, it's the largest community that we have. The purpose of this map is basically to clean up certain areas that I needed to clean up, such as making sure that Ocoee was all in District 2, making sure that District 4 and District 5 were as compact as possible, and trying to make everything that I had promised previously. Now, there is one area that I would like to also say. This map never divided Maitland and maintained Maitland as is. As to the division in Alafaya, I'll take exception to that because Alafaya has Avalon Park and what I would call Curry Ford have very little in common, but they're put all together under that map. I did do a couple of other things that basically I think needed to be done in order to make numbers, but that I'm flexible to. That includes dividing Winter Garden, and that also includes dividing part of Union Park that's already divided because of Colonial Drive, and no way to put it all together, even though I tried. I did make some changes in Pine Castle and Sky Lake, and those were basically just to keep the numbers and the lines there. But I am also flexible to any discussion that any of you have as to how I can improve this map. With that, I'll yield.
Thank you, Jimmy. Legal?
Yes, Committee Proposal 14 does meet the minimum legal threshold for consideration by the committee. It has a maximum deviation of 3.52% and a relative mean deviation of 0.82%. It is also contiguous in compliance with the state and local contiguity requirements. Committee Proposal 14 does create new splits in certain populations. That is, there is a third split now in Alafaya between District 3, District 4, and District 5. Gotha is split between District 1 and District 2. Lake Butler is split between District 1 and District 2, and staff does have recommendations to move those little census blocks over into the districts to consolidate those. In Pine Castle is currently in District 3 only. It is now proposed to be split between District 3 and District 4. Sky Lake is in District 3 currently and is currently proposed to be split into District 3 and District 4. And then Union Park, there's a third district split created. Currently, Union Park is between District 4 and District 5 and is going to be split between District 3, District 4, and District 5. And then in Winter Garden, there is no split in Winter Garden currently. It is all in District 1. This map does split, like most of the maps we've seen, Winter Garden between District 1 and District 2. There are no populations fully moved to any new districts. The populations fully consolidated into one district are Holden Lakes, which is currently in District 3 and District 6, is consolidated into District 3. And Ocoee, which is currently in District 1 and District 2, is fully consolidated into District 2 in the population. The small and significantly large population chunks, there's the Gotha, the Lake Butler, City of Orlando, Union Park, and Winter Park. And then there's other population adjustments in Fairview Shores and in Pine Hills. And then staff also just has a couple of adjustments for 0 population blocks that it found. And that is the end of the legal analysis.
Thank you. We'll now open debate on Committee Proposal 14. Wes.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Jimmy, interesting map. I am concerned when I hear the conversation about promises that were made without full context. It gives me great pause, and I'm not saying that it's something that applies to you. It just, what were the context of those conversations and promises, and why are we revisiting them 10 years later? The other concern that I have is District 5 goes to basically about 1.5 miles wide, and it goes from what was arguably a gerrymandered district to what is considerably a gerrymandered district. When you go from Cimarron Boulevard all the way to Dean, and it only being about 1.5 miles wide. I also do have some concerns about the 2-6 changes, and I do share Mr. Rocha's concern with Sky Lake. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jimmy, do you want to answer
The promise was made here at this meeting. I said that I was going to put Gotha in. That was done here publicly. As to that area, what I did do is I gave back 3, what was originally part of which was originally it's and basically as to Sky Lake and the others, it was more of a move to keep the population where it needed to be. But as I said at the end of my presentation, Mr. Hodge, I do have I'm open to, at the end when we sit down and hash out a map, to make modifications. This is not carved in stone.
Wes?
Yeah, Jimmy, thank you very much. I apologize. I thought you were referring to promises made back 10 years ago. So I 100% agree with your consolidation of Gotha, so my apologies on that.
Okay.
Thanks. Commissioner Hardage.
Yeah, I have a couple of concerns. I think your first map was far superior to this map, and we moved that map forward. One, the biggest concern is the deviation in the voting population of District number 2, which changes too much as far as I'm concerned. Secondly, in District number 5 and District number 4, one of the goals that we have as committee members is to make as small a deviation in the current lines as possible. This is a drastic deviation in District number 4, which I could not support. In District number 6, we all have had the same issue with Silver Star and the the northern portion of the district. But the way this is carved out is quite a bit of a deviation from the western boundary, which I think is a little bit concerning. I supported your first map, but this one I could not support.
Okay. Co-Chair Evans?
Member Alfont, I have to kind of echo Commissioner Hartage's comment. There are a couple of things that stand out for me is the shape on District 2, the shape on District 5, and then the adjustments through the Pine Hills community and the comments we've received from the members of that community regarding their desire to have, more of a presence in District 2 as opposed to District 6. So those are my main concerns from a compactness as well as input from the community. I don't think this one's gonna. I can't support this one.
Not a problem.
Kelly?
Sorry. I like that you tried to put Gotha all together into this one. So the first one had Gotha split, your first map. So this one, you've tried to put it all together, and I understand how it's difficult to get the lines drawn up. I wanted to ask about Avalon. When you said that you were trying to move Avalon, are you trying to move Avalon into District 5?
Correct.
Okay. And then with Sky Lake, was that just that's an issue of the lines, or that was an intentional split?
It's a combination of both. I would like to say that I was trying to move it from Oak Ridge to Lancaster, and it didn't come out exactly the way I want. That's why I keep saying that I'm flexible about that, because the census blocks, I probably moved more than I really needed to move.
So what would that look like if you got it ideally? What would Sky Lake look like?
Probably the same straight line that it had before. I think population-wise, I might not need it that much as I had thought in the past.
Okay, and lastly, the Union Park. It's got 442 in District 3, almost 7,000 in District 4, 3,000 in District 5. Was that 442? Is that intentional, or is that just from the software?
No, the problem with Union Park, those of us who live in District 5 could tell you that Union Park, dividing it with Colonial Drive has always been a bad idea. So above Union Park, that is District 5, so we all know, across from Colonial is District 4. So it was previously already divided. What I did is I just gave some area that I thought would have something in common with District 3 to District 3. But the division of Colonial, of dividing Union Park is historical. It's always been there. And that's one of the things I've always had a problem with, what I call dividing with highways.
Okay, and then lastly, do you remember what your the difference was with Pine Hills between District 2 and District 6 in your first and Proposal 1 that we had? Did these numbers change from that, or are they relatively the same?
They're exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. And in fairness to everybody, they came after we heard from the people from Pine Hills, and still Pine Hills is in two areas. Maybe the map that the mayor presented that goes back to Silver Star, most of the maps are kind of similar in that division. I still have about something like 13,000 people in District 2 in that area. And basically, I tried to go again and start pulling, but I realized that it was practically impossible. But again, if somebody has something to bring it down further, I'm amenable to it.
Okay, so
but it's the same exact map as A1, the same division. There's no changes there.
So in sum, the major change is moving Gotha all into District 1.
Correct.
And moving Avalon
into District 5.
into District 5. Those are the two main changes that we're seeing, or deviations from your first map that you presented that the committee passed through.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mayor Kilsheimer. So I first wanted to congratulate Jimmy on being, I think, the most prolific map creator among the whole committee. And
I don't know if that's an honor, but
I can't remember which committee member said it first, but I supported your first map. And my big concern with this map is that that little narrow neck in District 5. It just I think the public will look at that and say that's a gerrymandered, non-compact district. So,
and that's the problem with the software. It is not. Basically, it's a problem that the software cannot, using the census blocks, make a division between two developments. One is Avalon Park, and the next one is, I think it's Stony Brook, if my memory serves me right. It's just that the software cannot, but once it is, you will find out that it's two different divisions. So, oh, the one in District 3, you mean? Yeah. Again, that's part of what I would call the census block. I would have probably backed down a little bit further down than there.
Tom Callan, you were up and then you were down.
Can I still speak?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We got 5 minutes and 37 seconds.
I share the concerns. I thought the earlier map today we had drawing Silver Star Road between District 6 and District 2 is the first time I saw that, and it looked pretty good. I like that a lot. My concern of this map is that dilutes the certain population percentages in District 2. I like the Maitland being together. You know, in the past, we've heard about dividing communities. I believe, I don't like the area sandwiched in District 2 between 6 and 5. I think that is a finger. It's not compact. It's an urban area. It needs to go either in District 6 or District 5. You know, some people told me, but when I did my map, that some folks in Eatonville wanted to be in District 5. They saw more commonality with District 5 than District 2. And there's been sort of, most maps have, kept Eatonville in District 2. And so, again, this continues that. The other concern I have is also the isthmus there. And then some of the stuff on the eastern boundary of District 4, I had some questions. But I liked your first map better, Jimmy, as well. I would not support this map.
Julio Roca.
For clarification, are you the one that moved Sky Lake?
That's me.
Not supporting your map, dude.
Hey.
I knew I had the note somewhere. Sorry, Mayor.
Not a problem.
Commissioner Hardage.
Yes, just to echo Mr. Collins' comments, I've actually heard from people in Eatonville who say keep it all together, and I've actually heard from members that say split it up. And I've asked them why, and the group that says keep it together want to keep all of Eatonville compact. They think that's more powerful. The group that wants to split it thinks that they are developing more urban than some of the more rural parts of District 2. So that's a real toughie. I think almost all the maps have shown it together, but you're right. There are people on both sides of that. I'm kind of betwixt and between. I understand both sides.
Thank you, Commissioner. I don't have any other speakers in queue. Does anyone wish to speak? And you're pushing your button and it's not registering. Doesn't seem like it. Okay. I am looking for a motion on Committee Proposal 14.
Mr. Chairman, can I use my 3 minutes before that we still have?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Before any motion, I wanted to do this map for two purposes. One, I had at the beginning made a promise to Kelly about Gotha. So I went out and did that to comply. I also realized that there was things that were kind of unique that we went through. One was that most people want to be united, but we found out that Pine Hills doesn't. So go figure. They came here and said, don't put us together, keep us separate. So I kept that in mind. The purpose of this map and more than anything else, is to show you all that you don't need to make drastic changes. Basically, you could keep everything like I did put in my first map, and you're going to realize that probably that is my best creation. And I'll admit that right here, right now. But I also want to show you how sometimes using county lines or using other areas, how things can change drastically and sometimes get our reaction. And I think before we go home for Thanksgiving, that's something we need to think about. We really do not need to reinvent the wheel. We really do not need to do anything drastic. And with that in mind, I would like to, if you would allow me, to withdraw my map.
Certainly you can withdraw your map. Jimmy, we've got a minute 24. Julio, you've been on, off, on, and off. Are you on?
It's not directed to Jimmy, the comment, but just for a matter of time, and do you know how difficult this thing is? I will encourage my fellow committee members that if you guys want to make an exercise like this at the last meeting, I think it's uncalled for. That's just my opinion. Aside from the fact that, I'm sorry, but I'm starving. So an additional 15 minutes, I know I'm dead serious, an additional 15 minutes of conversation on something that is just a practice to entertain us or entertain the public, I don't think it's good. I think it could be seen as comical. I think that we got to push our maps and present our maps and go forward, especially at the last meeting. Thank you.
So Jimmy, thank you for presenting and withdrawing. Proposal number 14. You got 24 seconds. Anything to add at the end?
Happy Thanksgiving to all.
There you go. Thank you, Jimmy. So proposal 14 has been withdrawn by its creator. As we move into the closing of the meeting, I want to throw it over to my co-chair, Camille Evans, and see if she has any parting words, and then I'll have a few.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair Perez. I just want to actually thank Mr. Affont, even though I don't agree with map 14. I just want to make sure that we're clear that it's not necessarily an exercise of just doing something because we said I think we need to hear each other's points about the different maps. I've been taking a lot of notes throughout all these different proposals to hear what are the concerns that the different appointees from the different districts raise. And I think that those comments, even on map proposals that don't get our general consensus of approval for moving forward, are so helpful in shaping our path forward. So I want to make sure we don't sound like we're dismissing anybody's work because the teasing out of the issues is helpful.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Before I take a motion to adjourn, a couple of quick thoughts. Number one, I want to remind you again, you have a memorandum at your place from my co-chair and I setting forth our plans on how to winnow our maps at the final two meetings. Please take a look at that. Number two, map deadline is November 29th. That is a hard stop. So November 29th, it's the last day, close of business to accept maps. Please keep that in mind. If you can get them done sooner, that would make it easier for staff and frankly, give us the opportunity to get legal review on those at the December 6th meeting, and that's better for us, and it's certainly better for the public. So the sooner you can get those maps in, the better. I'd remiss if I didn't say this, even though it may or may not be appropriate. So if it's inappropriate, I apologize, but we all lost a dear friend this weekend in Doug Head. We've never agreed on virtually anything, but I had an extraordinary amount of respect for Doug. He was an incredible community player, and I can't let his death go unacknowledged at this meeting. So I just wanted to make sure we all keep him and his family in our prayers. I hope everybody has an extraordinary Thanksgiving. Spend some time, make some maps, or have them made by then. And we'll see you again on December 6th. Is there a motion to adjourn? Got a motion and seemed like a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye. We stand adjourned.